is like being born. And the question for the benefit of the camera isn't the Alice in Wonderland analogy that we were talking about earlier similar to being born? You land on the chessboard, everything's strange, and there are all these rules to learn. Opposing forces that are trying to prevent your progress and all of that sort of thing.
It is. We come in here not knowing much at all. We're at the mercy of everything. And we have to learn as we go. One of the things that we must learn is to listen to the inner voice and not so much to the outer voices. The outer voices tell, I'm talking about the adults, which I used to, as a child, as a teenager, I called them adults. Where? Who? How did they get that way? I don't ever want to get that way. Lord, don't let me ever become adult.
Not realizing that we already are that as teenagers. Just oriented in a different position. So, yeah, and I think, again, the same thing happens in the world. I mean, with literal births, when we're born into the world, we're born into all these rules. You can move this way, you can move that way. Can't move that way. Chess is an interesting game. There's all that social status. There's kings and queens, and then there are pawns who are, unfortunately, the serfs of the chess world, or the indentured servants, or whatever they might be. And they're often sacrificed. So it is a good analogy. And like Alice, we have to make somehow this world familiar. And some people never do. Some people always experience the world as alien. Something that is not a part of themselves. Which is it's an unfortunate conscious state to occupy.
It reminds me of a seed, which is another excellent metaphor, ancient one, that falls into the ground and refuses to come out in the ground and say, no, it's cold out there. Well, of course it's cold out there. So what? So the seed won't open up. But it seeds what we do. If we flourish, as we flourish, is we open up and we go through the ground and we go into the ground too. Yeah. Same time. Hit a hard spot, we go around it, or we crack it open. And we keep moving toward the light and we keep moving toward the dark at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that requires a verve.
What's amazing to me is the seed always knows which direction up is.
The seed does. The seed does not send its little antenna things that way.
Yeah.
It knows where the light is.
It knows where the light is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true of us too. And we've forgotten, I think, again, in this alienation from the world, we've forgotten that the soul is not just in the interiority of the individual. The soul is here in the world. But our psychology and our philosophy orients us toward the interior world. And it says, here's where you encounter the soul. And so we even get this kind of inadvertent problem created of more separation between us and the world.
That's the two sides of individuation. That's the two sides of our becoming more and more individuals. According to our story, we used to be more groupthink when we were in, I don't know, a long time ago, centuries ago. And we've become individualized. And so in becoming individuals, in regarding it as an opening toward the light, if we do not open toward the light, then we are enshrouded. And we're stillborn, to use that metaphor.
Mm-hmm. And the dark is very attractive, it's very seductive. Right? I mean, we've all had the experience of being in our own sort of darkness, and whether we call that depression or whatever. We usually put a label on it. But in some ways, there's something that is that is also very seductive about that darkness.
There's something comforting about it.
Yeah. And it's because I think the analogy you were using of the seed, there's all this potential in the darkness.
That's true.
Anything can happen in the
In
darkness.
the darkness.
We don't recognize anything. Anything might be there. And I think in an unconscious way, we get excited by that possibility, and we're drawn or we're seduced into the darkness, but we never let ourselves sort of move beyond our own interior experience of the darkness.
Well, I believe we both are open to the darkness and the light. That seems to be a powerful way to go, to realize that we are darkness and light. I know I tried to be just light for a while. It didn't work. I couldn't do it for very long, maybe a few seconds. But when we are opening to light while coming out of darkness, that's the same thing as destruction and creativity.
Yes.
It's the same thing as death life.
Yes.
I've been opening to death more lately. You know, according to the actuarial table, I don't have long. Who knows? You know, none of us ever know. And understanding that I am death as much as I am life.
Yes.
That's a great comprehension. I'm still comprehending this. And it has to do with that point back here, because it feels like we're coming out of darkness into light. Yet we're both. It has to do with the whole creative destruction thing. I am Shiva. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes, the Lord of the dance. Creation and destruction, and that's the dance. Death is something that we tend not to, in this culture anyway, receive in the way that you're preparing to, or are doing.
We're supposed to shun death.
Yeah.
I think that's what I hear.
I think we see death as somehow anomalous. It shouldn't be.
If we
Which
keep
is
doing
crazy.
If we keep doing spiritual calisthenics, we'll be okay.
Well, we won't have to die.
Well, and that's true. We won't have to die.
That's what
We won't.
we go to this place where,
But this won't go.
well, apparently it does in some fashion, because people recognize us up there,
Oh, in some fashion, yes.
But
there is a residue left on Earth,
yeah,
in the Earth.
yeah. So, it's kind of, death is such an important part of life. And Montaigne wrote about this in one of his essays, where he was run over by his carriage or something. He had some kind of accident where he was in a coma for a while. When he came out of the coma, he realized that death is a natural part of life. It's an important part of life, just as eating or learning or anything else, and it needs to be treated as an important part of life.
Mr. St. Paul said, I die daily. Well, I'll just push him further on that one. I die every nanosecond.
Yeah.
We all do.
We all do. It goes back to all those cells that, in the last 30 seconds we've been talking, how many millions of brain cells have expired?
Yeah.
But they've been replaced too.
Sloughing out your
Yeah,
ears.
that's right. So the old stories that I was told in college, if I drank too much, I'd be destroying all these brain cells. Yeah, but they're replaced almost instantaneously.
As if we do not disappear. And if we could see closely enough, we're disappearing and reappearing all the time.
All the time. Phasing in and out. Just the way our consciousness phases in and out, people that are listening to us or people that listen to me in therapy, often they go, they're in and out. They'll hear some things and not other things. And it's a very common state of consciousness. We are dissociated much of the time.
This Zen dude that others call master, but he didn't call himself that. He was asked by this guy, what is the secret, the very core, the very essence of enlightenment? He said, attention. says, come on, tell me the real skinny here, what's the truth? And the Zen dude said, attention, attention, attention. Excuse me for getting in your face. And our fading in and out, it's that we stop paying attention to, or giving attention to whatever, let's say us talking, and our attention goes somewhere else. And then we stop giving attention to that, and our attention goes somewhere else. And a key to rebirth into a realm of consciousness is staying attentive, being here, always being here. I love it that the great Ahuahua is breathing us. And if we try to breathe ourselves, it doesn't work, you know. It doesn't work. We're being breathed. And we're being breathed so finely and so superbly that we're not even aware of it. Yeah. A blessing that comes with this is that when we allow our attention to be with our breathing, we're always here. Mm-hmm. So we have a bookmark in space and time that brings us right here.
And what's the point of being right here, do you think?
This.
Right. Experience.
And this.
Experience itself.
Experience, yes. We are the nerve endings of the universe.
Yes.
We are. Yeah. And experience is what it's all about.
Yes.
Why else did God, the great Ahuahua, the source of all being, open up to all this splitness, all this fragmentation, so to speak, except to experience through it all?
In the Hadith, Allah tells Muhammad, I was a hidden treasure, and I wanted to be known. So I made all of creation.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. That's more beautiful.
Yeah. So it's like it's the whatever this is that we call the divine. Whatever this is that is animating everything is curious about itself. And so it splits off little aspects of itself, and I mean, that's the only way you can see. I can't see where I'm sitting unless I get up and move and look at it.
Mm-hmm. And you feel different, you're experiencing different.
Exactly.
Differently.
And that's what I think this all is just experience. The problem for us is, as human beings, with every experience, there's an emotion. And we've decided that some emotions you shouldn't have. But emotion is the consequence of an experience. And that's all it is. It doesn't mean something's wrong. It means that you're having this kind of an experience.
That's such a trap to decide. CIDE, which is right in, it's saying with suicide, decide. That we decide that certain emotions are not acceptable.
We kill those emotions. That's what side means.
And we kill them, or we try to kill them.
Yeah.
Because they won't. They're pretty hardy. We try to kill them. And they keep reappearing. When you stuff something down, it comes up over here, like that. But I'm thinking when we open to all our emotions, all our feelings, and acknowledge them, then we become psychotherapists. I wasn't going to say that, but I couldn't resist. Of course we don't, because we're still bozos too.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, but I couldn't resist that, excuse me. Here's where I was going. Then, when we open to all our emotions and all our feelings, they don't bother us anymore. They just flow through. In trying to push something away, like anger. You shouldn't feel angry. I don't see how we cannot feel angry. So instead of trying to push it away, you say, oh, this is anger coming through, but I'm not going to act on it. I'm not going to get my chainsaw out.
So what kind of an experience am
It's
I
an
having?
experience.
And then when we can understand the experience that we're having, we may be able to say, oh, well, I guess I don't need to be angry. Or I don't need to direct my anger over here because I'm feeling powerless. Or because I'm feeling afraid or in pain or whatever reason I'm producing anger for.
That's that ability to step back again.
Yeah, exactly. Take a deeper look into what's happening.
There is an understanding of where we are today in the world. And we know we need change, and we know we're changing. We know we can't keep on going like we've been. We know that. It's been said, you know, all us old hippies, we've been saying it since the 60s and 70s. I thought we'd have had all little cars by now.
I know, I want my flying car, Walter Cronkite promised me.
Things. The best thing to do if the car is one of these big trucks is coming at you these days, if it's coming at you, it's going to hit you, is to fall down on the ground. They'll just go right over you without hitting you. It's way up there. But we know this is not working. So what we're open to is the consciousness, and this is very controversial, that we are gods with a little g. Jesus said that. I believe Jesus. If somebody else said that, I don't know. But Jesus is my head guru. And he's quoting Old Testament too. You're gods. Now what does that mean? What it means to me is that we're moving from being an individual who is a card-carrying member of society with a social security number and a name and all that stuff, which is fine. I mean, it's part of what's going on. To understanding that we are the universe unfolding, that we are the spirit spiriting. I teach, I've been teaching the application of martial arts to martial art principles to everyday life for a long time. And part of that is the understanding that we're grounding while opening to the cosmos at the same time. So we open our awareness out of our, what underwear am I going to wear today, or what clothes am I going to wear, or what food am I going to eat, all these things. We open from that to, if we have enough food. I understand all that. We open to, and even if we don't, there are great saints on earth today who don't have food or much food at all. We open to the understanding that we're more than just this. Now those words are spoken a lot, that we must go beyond ego. But that's usually ego talking about we must go beyond ego, as I'm seeing it.
Yeah, and we pat ourselves on the back and we say, what a good boy am I.
I just went beyond my ego. It's a trap. So what does that mean, we are gods? What does that mean in terms of mythology? What does that mean to you?
What it means to me in terms of mythology is that we are unfathomable.
Oh.
That ultimately we are unknowable, even to ourselves. Because in fact that's what the gods were. And the gods were, in some cases, a shorthand for the energies of the natural world. So when we hear thunder and see lightning, we say that's Zeus. And apparently he's pissed at somebody. Or we see this spring coming out of the ground on a hike, and we say that's Artemis, the goddess of these artesianal springs. It's that word that comes on our water bottles that we then clog up the ocean with later. You know, it's from an artesianal well. It's Artemis.
So if we are gods, then we are Artemis, we are the spring.
We are these things
we are
and
the
more.
lightning.
And more.
And more.
Now, how do we incorporate that into an everyday human consciousness? It's a very difficult thing to do, I think. I don't know that we're necessarily wired to be able to absorb all that. I mean, this is the other thing in mythology that it tells us. When human beings start to occupy the same territory as the gods, the human beings are usually buggered in some way. They're destroyed. They're incinerated. Semele says to her lover Zeus, "I want to know you as you really are," and he says, "No, that's a bad idea. You should ask for something else, and let me show you that how much I love you through some other way." And she said, "No, you promised me I could ask whatever I wanted to of you, and this is what I want." So when Zeus reveals his true nature to her, she's incinerated. Gods always have to keep their promises. That's one thing that gods do better than we do.
I believe we're moving that way, in that direction. I feel it, I experience it. And I'll go to Christianity realm again, because even though there's a lot of anti-Christianity on earth today, and for good reason, for some parts of it, the stricter parts of it, Christianity is a language we're all wrestling with, and an understanding that we're all wrestling with.
Well, that's the soup we live in, too. I mean, we're born into that Judeo-Christian myth, whether we accept it or not.
That's right, we are. So, the old understanding that I have had, and it seems to me others have had too, and still have, many people, is that Jesus is out there somewhere, and God is out there somewhere. And so our job is to worship, because if we get too close, we'll be incinerated, for one thing. Because we have adopted this servile consciousness, we've swung the other way, and then we've gone to arrogant consciousness. Well, I'm not going to do that anymore. So,
I think that's because unconsciously we recognize the danger of getting too close to the God, whether it's the Christian God or an ancient Greek God or whomever.
Well, I'm thinking that those danger times are over. That's where I'm coming from. That we are opening to the understanding that God, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Allah, Wakantaka, all the names, and the no name is within and opens out.
In fact, is the mystery.
Yeah.
Those are all names that we attach to the mystery.
To the mystery. And the mystery sits here and here and here and here.
Robert Frost has that marvelous poem, about the secret. I think it's called The Secret. And he says, "Others dance in a circle and suppose the secret sits in the center and knows." And that's what we do. We just kind of circumambulate this mystery. And every now and then some of us steps out of line. There's a trespass involved, right? There has to be a trespass. We step out of line and we take a little closer look at the mystery.
Ibn Arabi said, okay, we circumambulate the Islam folk. They circumambulate around that black stone. What's it called? The Kaaba or something? He said, remove the stone and see what it is. Oh, hi.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, how did he avoid being executed?
He was really right.
Like that. And that happens. I mean, that happens all the time. And even in Christian tradition, people like the Desert Fathers, Meister Eckhart, or Teresa of Avila. These people were saying things that people were being executed for all the time.
One form of consciousness is executing another form of consciousness because it cannot abide it.
Yeah. We hate the idea. Some part of our humanness, I think, hates the idea of a mystery. We don't like not knowing. And so we create the illusion that we know all these things. And in fact, we know what we mean when we say the word God. But we don't know.
We don't.
And we make this false attribution of causality because we're not comfortable not knowing. And we say this thing is causing this, and we know the meaning of life and the purpose of existence and all that stuff. And we don't. We know the facts of life very well. And I think science is fabulous in that regard. I would much rather be living now with all the amenities of modern life that I have than living in Great Britain in 800 AD.
Let's stop and text each other.
Yeah. If we could carry this on Twitter.
I saw one today.
And we'd never have to say a word.
I saw a cartoon today on Facebook, of all places. I saw a cartoon. Here's this old grandmother woman, you know, with her hair and a dot thing and just white hair, and she's got this what's it, Xbox thing, and she's gazing into this video game, and it's a game called knitting. She's knitting a sweater. Someone asked, is that virtual reality thing warm?
We've become a very meta world, you know. Everything is almost always referring to something else.
It is.
Do we want to